Live vote?
You guys, there's
Three.
Yeah.
ready to go.
Okay, I would like to call the meeting of, the Infrastructure Committee of Hudson, New York. On, April 13th at 5:31 PM. We are going to start, as we always do, with the report from Rob Carey, the DPW superintendent.
All right, thank you. Septic for the month of February was $25,000. You know, our monthly nut is about 35 to 40,000, but we expect the winter to be low just because there's snow and ice and these guys have to go in people's yards to get to them. But usually in March, things start to turn around for us. So if you look at picture number 1 and 2, so 1 is right there. So what happens is this is the primary clarifier, it's not the sewer plant. And you can see how there's a bunch of plastic that's all tangled up and wrapped around itself. That's not supposed to happen. There's actually 3 redundancies. There's a shear pin, there's an actual throwout bearing, and there's an actual fault that should turn the power off if this happens. And we are trying to diagnose exactly what happened because this is not supposed to be the case. That said, many of the flights, they're plastic, you know, so they're not, you know, incredibly expensive, but we did have to replace them, and those were delivered last week, and they'll be installing them over the next week. Picture 2 just shows the tank. We put the tank back in service, but there are no chain of flight, so what will happen is the solids will start settling out. But in case we do get a high flow, we want to make sure that we have the tank capacity. So street sweeping hit list, and this is something that comes up almost every year, certainly every time there's an administration change. And this letter was forwarded to me. I've removed the contact information to protect the innocent, but it does touch across most of the major talking points of street sweeping and why we do it the way we do it. So the first issue is, why is it at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:15 in the morning? And why do I hear it make multiple passes? Well, the reality is, where you live, you may only hear it pass once, and where you live, you may hear it pass multiple times. So for me, I hear the sweeper come up Warren, I hear it go up Worth, I hear it on Prospect Avenue. Jason, you may only hear it pass
I hear McKinstry.
McKinstry in your house. Henry, you probably hear it 5 or 6 times. Union, Warren, 6th, 7th, right? So it is where, you know, so, you know, and if you live by the courthouse, you're gonna hear it coming up Allen, up Union, and when they go across 4th. So, the reality is, that's just how it works, because these cities are on the streets are on a grid, and so you're gonna hear it coming and going each ways. There was a question as to, this is the way it's been done. Well, I don't want to quote the Mandalorian and say this is the way, but the reality is we need the cars to be away from the curb, and they have to be away from the curb in a straight line, not just one heat, onesie, twosie. If you wanted us to do it during the day, then you're gonna have to make parking prohibitions during the day and enforce them. And, you know, right now in Hudson, which the single biggest complaint going on is parking. So if you're gonna have guys going out and doing alternate side parking between 8 AM and noon, you know, just take whatever complaints you're getting now, and you can, you know, take that as a factorial of 3 probably. So,
Sorry, we only have 1, correct?
just 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it does about 10 miles in a 3.5-hour shift. And, so that's how we do it, you know, because regular parking begins at 8 o'clock. There's no parking restrictions, you know, outside of, you know, handicapped and, you know, things of that nature. Alternate side is suspended at 8. And, you know, we do 10 miles of street. It's in a row. It's a pattern. So it's not like you can just wait and do 1 or 2 streets and do the other one. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Some street is not alternate parking. You know.
Correct.
So
I do.
that's mean, no, you do. That's mean like those, street don't need to be swept.
No, usually when there's, the streets that don't alternate, usually there's something wonky going on, like, like the 200 block of Columbia is once a week. The first two blocks alternate, because they're wide, so they can alternate like a regular street. 200 block gets a little bit more narrow, so they only go over once a week. Once you hit Third Street, you get that truck route. And if you've ever gone, like, if you've seen the 200 block of Columbia, the time people move their cars around, if they were doing that in the 300, 400, 500, 600 blocks of Columbia with the trucks coming both ways, I mean, it would just be a log jam. So that's why those streets we usually only clean when we put signs out to say no parking at all.
Right.
Because and there's just no room for trucks to get around and cars to be kind of interspersed.
One more question on this.
Sure.
So the street, we didn't do alternate, there's no sewer line going through the, under the road?
Oh, it could be, but it could be, some of the streets do have separate stormwater and sewer mains. So if they have a separate storm line, it's less critical that we do it every single day. So, but most of the grid, if you will, Union, Allen, Columbia, State, they still combined sewers. And so that's why the boulevards have separate storm and sewer. Don't we know that's why we only go out there once a week, because, we have regulatory requirements from the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and DEC that mandate that we keep as much of this grit out of the sewer system as possible. The easiest and most efficient way to do it is to do it on a regular basis and just hammer it. And we pull a couple of tons of grit off of the streets every single night. So it's there, and the longer it stays there, the more damages it creates downstream. One of the other, complaints we hear is, it violates the noise ordinance. Well, unfortunately, this is, part of maintaining our combined sewer system. It is a compliance with EPA and DEC regulations, and it is the maintenance of the utility, which is the sewer system, and therefore, under 210(7), number F, the exceptions, noise generated by the installation and maintenance of utilities. So it is exempt from the noise ordinance. There's another that says, we had never had this problem in New York City. That's my favorite. I love that. I don't know how New York City runs their operations. My guess is they probably have a fleet of sweepers. Then maybe they do Midtown Manhattan in the nighttime because it's commercial, and maybe they do Brooklyn, during the day because it's residential.
They have hours,
Yeah,
daytime hours.
and I'll guarantee you, they got a fleet of meter maids out there to enforce it too.
You gotta move from 8 to 10 o'clock.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, I mean, if that's the business that we want to get into, then, hey, like I said, that's not for me to decide. I have to operate within the framework that we have right now. And maybe they don't have the same regulations that we have. I mean, New York City's huge. I mean, I imagine for DEC and EPA give us a consent order because we're a little old Hudson. New York City with its power, I mean, it's the exempt, who knows?
Sorry, Rob, when did this one arrive, this complaint?
It was forwarded to me, from another official, whenever, over the weekend, I guess.
And it's saying,
Recent.
heard it before.
Yeah, I know. And like I said, I'm just keeping
Yeah.
the names out of here, but, yes. But like I said, it touches upon, a lot of things that and then I've discussed them at this meetings, it seems every 2 years for sure. In fact, there's a bunch of associated documents that I can provide to you that actually gives you excerpts of all the regulations, the consent orders, our speedies permits. There's a lot of, back information, but just as a conversation. I was wondering, might be, let's just say the, 6 AM before retail businesses and why extreme frequency. Like I said, we have these regulatory constraints. You can't just, you have to fill the tank up with water. You gotta get everything ready set it up. It takes a half hour to set up and then out it goes. It also takes a half hour to break down and clean out, because we wanna maintain equipment, it's almost $400,000. So, and, you know, so what happens is our staff comes in, whoever is operating the sweeper is a part of another crew. They may be part of the garbage crew, they may be part of a parks crew or a street maintenance crew. So whatever it is, we need a minimum of X people. This guy is X minus one. So we need him to finish his duty on the sweeper, get the thing back in, and at 6:30 AM, when the crew arrives, I don't set the hours for the crew, that's contractual. They start at 6:30 AM, we need him off that sweeper, everything put back and clean and ready to go with his crew. I mean, what do you want? You wanna have a garbage crew that's waiting for a third guy and an hour sitting around playing pinochle? That's not it. We want these, we gotta move with what hours we have and get the jobs done that everybody expects to get done. So, you know, if you push the hours back, you're gonna have, projects that just aren't gonna get done, or they're gonna be down a man, potentially creating a safety issue. So it's part of the reality. Frequency, I kind of touched on this, the grid is the oldest part, it's stone and brick. So unfortunately, the people in the oldest part of the city are those that are, they're probably gonna hear it more times than others. The winter months. This is a new one for me, why we don't sweep during the winter months. Well, the street sweeper employs water. The water gets sprayed on the components, and the impeller to keep it cool. It also gets sprayed on the ground to keep dust down. Now, it's 4 degrees outside. First of all the nozzles or whatever are gonna freeze and break. But what water does go on the street is gonna freeze. And now we just created ice, which, is not what we do. Also, there are typically snowbanks. And, we can't get to the curb when there's snow on top of it. But I did show a nice little picture. This is some of the remaining snow behind one of our snow dumps. And you can see that as the plows go over in the snowstorm and push the snow, when we do snow removal, a lot of this grit gets picked up in that snow and the snow melts. And so as that pile melts, it'll get more black and more black because the grit doesn't melt. And there it goes. So that's kind of like our fallback position for winter cleaning. But the reality is we don't, unless we want to put radiant heat in the streets, so it's all nice and toasty, then. Okay,
Will things change at all when the sewer project separates?
as streets are separate, then yeah, absolutely, they can change. You know,
Is that one?
what's that?
That one.
Well, it'll go, it's a dedicated storm, but we'll have diffuser.
Dedicated storm,
Right, it won't have any impact on the sewer.
Right.
It won't create the number of CSOs, it won't
Yeah.
increase the number, it won't increase the flows.
Where does the storm go, I guess? If we're,
Well, it ultimately goes into the river,
yeah.
but we have these infiltrators, we have these other mechanisms. There'll be stormwater solutions to keep this grit out of the storm. You may wanna keep, doing regular street sweeping, just,
It'd be better if we treated everything before it hits the river. Remember how much salt we're putting on the roads.
well, the salt is dissolved, so.
Yeah.
We run
Pretty
them,
good rain, that stormwater, the first few washes it.
but the salt, even now, the salt just goes right through the sewer plant.
Good.
Because
Yeah.
we're running we run a microbiological process. We're not doing chemical filtration or a GAC or activated carbon filtration, so. And then, this last one was kind of a new one, a lucrative contract. The only one that makes money out of it is for this grit that we don't capture, makes its way into the primary sludge, gets sent to a digester where the organics break down, the grit does not, and we have to have a company come and back that out as a hazardous waste. So,
The more you clean, the cheaper our bill is.
yeah, so. As far as, so we had our 2026 DEC inspection last week, we'll get the results back from that in a month or so. The CSO separation project, so we've started sending portions of this to DEC to get their preliminary, review. Everything that they've seen so far, they've sent back to us, with no issues or concern. The idea is that, once the last of the documents makes there, we can get a quick turnaround and get this out to bid. Water department, so, if, in case any of you get a letter from the town of Taconic, there's a, concerned citizen out there about the state of a culvert below our reservoir. Just so that we all know, that road, which I've highlighted here in number 5, that's called Reservoir Road. It's in the town of Taconic's inventory. It's their road, they own it, they control it. There's an issue with the safety. Their town engineer has ruled the culvert unsafe, and so the road is closed, midway, to through traffic. It's still open if you want to go one way and turn around and come back out. It has no impact on our operations out there, as we're able to either, we can access either side of the dam or a chemical feed building from either side that's open. So, there's no concern there. Just, so everybody knows, because a lot of people don't, is that we are not just the property owner in the town of Taconic, we are also a taxpayer. Wait, what? Municipalities pay property taxes? Well, when you own water infrastructure and your reservoir is considered real property, and there's an actual code for it, this is how, the whole watershed for New York City is, totally devastated. New York City has to pay real properties, and so does everybody else. So we actually, in 2022, we paid just over $15,000 in property taxes to, the town of, no, what's this? Town of Taconic, yeah, town of Taconic. And this year, we just paid $19,324. So we're one of the, that's just the town's taxes, that's not the school, that's not the schools. So, we're one of the largest property owners in the town. So if they're looking for money to make repairs, we just wrote them a check for 20 grand. And, we'll do the same thing next year and the year after. They can create a capital fund and take the take the city of Hudson's property taxes. However they want to do it, but when it comes down to it, it's a local decision. The concern is from one of their residents, and it doesn't, it's zero impact on us.
Well, as I understand, we own on both sides of the
We're the
road, but they own the road.
They own the road, exactly. Exactly. Also on, so kind of segueing into the Harry Howard thing. So this was the break that was discovered at Lucille Drive. Picture 7, you can see the water coming out. Picture 8, we actually had an isolation valve, so we were able to shut it down. But where I circled is where the gasket had failed. And that was put in maybe 10 years ago. And we actually had a similar problem elsewhere in the city, so we're no longer gonna use this product for a connection. And what you see here in picture 9 is it's all mechanical joints. The gaskets are compressed. It's much more significant, more robust. And so this is what we'll be using going forward. But once we identified this issue and corrected it, the leak stopped. So if you look at picture 11, it's
What is 10?
So,
10 is actually, well, this is the culvert that's goes from Underhill Pond, under Harry Howard Avenue, and goes to the thing. So we were concerned originally that there may have been a failure here. We can look inside and you can see the integrity is just fine. There's no failure with that.
what is this bulb you're talking about?
Yeah, in between, there's a gasket in between it. The gasket failed and the water was spraying out through the side. And this is what the spray was looking like while they were still excavating it.
These don't come warranty or anything or not?
Well, it was like 10 years ago we put it in. But, these things should last, decades.
Did it freeze or something? Just.
I mean, it's hard to say. It's a lateral to Lucille Drive. And Lucille is 1, a dead end. And 2, it's only a few handful of residents there. So I'm sure it doesn't get a lot of usage.
Yeah, so it might have.
So it's possible that especially, but it looks like it's been running for a very long time. So if it froze, it may have frozen 2019 or something like that. So 11, that just shows, we witnessed this clay That's kind of was coming out the side, so we knew that was our source of what was, once we turned the water off. And that whole area dried right up, then we were like 99% sure. At that point, in the meantime, we have the pump, we own the pump. We were using it to kind of draw down in case there was any additional weight from the pressure of Underhill, even though the failure is well above the water line of Underhill Pond. Underhill Pond is probably 12 to 15 feet down. This failure was about 6 feet down. In fact, perfect segue, you can see, this is part of the original excavation on picture 14. You can see that guy's probably 6 feet something, and you can see the top of the water main is what he's walking over. So, we went down, picture 15 is the catch basin, which is actually at the road, finished road grade. So that, that's, that's how far they went down. You can see it sticking up in the background. On the right-hand margin of 14, you can see the fabric mesh. So once everything was down and new stone was put and compacted, they put these layers of fabric in there to hold everything together and lock it together. After that, they did install under drains. So 16 just kind of gives you the footprint, the gray is over top of each of these drains. They put 4 of them in. So in the future, if something like this happens again, the water's gonna hit these drains, they'll follow a pipe, and shoot out, and it won't undermine the road at all. 17 are the weep, we call it weeps. 18 is, after the weeps are put in, this is them putting in gabion and some larger aggregate for structural stuff, then they cover it with smaller fines and compact that and to lock everything in place. You just picture one of our trucks, it's just been, we've been hauling material, excavation out and bringing some material in, just to try and keep some of the costs down.
So you have a ETA, like, when it's gonna.
Well, right now, so of the under, this, kind of the whole substructure, should be done this week. The next thing, and this is when I first talked about it, we have to wait for the asphalt plant to open. And that it was gonna happen for a couple of weeks. We also need to coordinate with the guardrail company because the guardrails had to come out. They have to reinstall them. He's gonna come in and do it in a couple of hours. Just pound it in and then mount the new guardrail, but, we have to get on the schedule. He's had, been working on a schedule all winter. So we're gonna try and slide in there, but we're hoping that within a couple of weeks, we should have this whole thing open up and, it'll get striped in the summertime when the other streets stripe comes through.
If you're waiting for asphalt, can you single lane it or do you want it, or you just?
No, because the other lane is gonna be down probably 4 to 6 inches. I mean, what do you want somebody to drive over that?
No, I'm just
There's no guardrail.
staying close till it's fully.
Yeah, I mean, it's, at this stage of the game, it's been a month almost, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, I said 4 to 6 weeks from the very beginning and we're gonna be 4 to 6 weeks. So meanwhile, while we had this closed, we wanted to inspect the sewer main that was there to make sure that the shifting didn't have any problem with that. 20 shows there was some pooling in one of the structures. It's supposed to go freely. So we went with the sewer router, which is 21. And, we found there was some obstruction, cleared it out. You were able to use a camera. There's actually 2 mains that run next to each other. Camera, this is showing the other main, and you can see a bunch of material, some collapse up further along. So there was a failed, flange, and that's what picture 24 shows. That was cut out, removed. You can see the new section of piping in picture 25. So the hub was taken out.
PVC,
What's that?
that's a PVC pipe or the.
PVC, schedule 40. Plastic. And actually, this is the hub that we cut out, is picture 26. 27, other DPW work, this is a repaired, catch basin up on Glenwood.
Do
Yeah,
you want to talk finances at all about this?
well, it's gonna be a couple $100,000 and hopefully DOT will cover it.
That's what I was gonna ask, is there any emergency stuff or?
No, I mean, I already have a CHIPS budget, so when we get, the state approves their budget, I'll get a letter from DOT telling us what our new balance is. And based on that new balance, as soon as we have to have paid the contractor. So once it's paid in full, we'll immediately turn it on and submit it to DOT for reimbursement. Road reconstruction is an applicable cost, so I don't anticipate a problem, but if it does, I've already spoken to Dee Dee Barrett's staff. And if, we do get pushback from DOT, we're gonna do the 911 to our elected officials to see if we can't get them to change their mind. But I don't imagine
But,
this should be an issue.
fallout would be, and you mentioned something else on this, is that CHIPS money that we're using often to pave our streets is being used on this and the bridge and some other things, and,
Well, the state touring money is being used on the bridge.
okay, will you just talk about
Right, but
that type of stuff?
But yeah, that's, the state tourism is, it's a really different account altogether. But yes, so if we, whatever we use for here is less money that can be used for, paving streets elsewhere in the city. But, we shouldn't be out of pocket, so.
Yep.
Big Basin, the docks are in, we started putting them in last week. Just shows you the loader, holding one of the support beams, that's to keep the things from the floats from rocking back and forth. There's also bushings to help stabilize that go in between. It's, it's pretty labor intensive process. What do we have, the National Grid, so this is this,
Question for you,
Yeah.
sorry. Did we pay, Sloop Club to use their boat during dock installation or?
my understanding is that's a part of their contract, and it's only, we use them for the river dock. They don't help us at all, they don't help us at all with the other docks.
Oh, I thought they helped with everything.
No, just the river ones. Because we can't reach out there.
Yeah.
But these, we actually drop in from the side.
That's,
National Grid, we own the streetlights now, but, now that we own them, so picture 30 just kind of shows you when National Grid installs a new pole, they move their infrastructure over. They won't move the streetlight anymore,
what? They won't move them?
no, because we own them. That happened the day after we signed the paper taking ownership of them, they immediately stopped moving them. For a while, they were putting them on the ground. They were disconnecting them and just leaving them on the ground. So this is better, because at least it's still energized. They ran a little jumper to it, so it's still energized, but
That's
no, we have to pay,
to do it ourselves.
our,
Or
the streetlight czar,
who's that?
Scotty.
Oh, we have to do it? Fine.
I said, Scotty, I need, well, the other electrician that we use, they do a lot of bigger, and they have a lot more equipment and whatever, but they're also busy on other projects, and Scott's a local guy, and, because really, it's just
Easy, just an arm and some something.
yeah, it's hard, I mean, but we had to build up an interview.
They've done that for years. They.
When we paid $10,000 a month
Yeah.
to them, they were happy to move the lights. But, the irony is, I say that for the first 15 years I worked here, I don't think they installed 10 new utility poles unless there was an accident, got hit by a tree. And now they're installing hundreds of them. But we hear from other municipalities that similar things happen there too.
Well, they're all getting all together.
So, anyway, so this is one of the things that we have to, we have to internalize this cost.
But we end up with two poles near each other.
No, then they have to,
Until they take it down.
then, you see below, all that Verizon
Yeah.
and then SharePoint
Their stuff.
and whoever, Arch Fiber and whatever, all those other, they have to move all their junk over there to the new pole too. And then Verizon does theirs last, and then they take the old pole out.
So we will, this light will end up on that pole.
Yeah, we're gonna have, because we have a contractor that we pay to do that. So, but it was better than 120 grand a year for, just easy. And speaking of the money, as usual, I don't know if you recall, probably none of you were here, when we built the police station, we got these really low utility bills for like 3 or 4 years. We called them up, said this seems odd. that we're paying like $8,000 a year for electricity for a 24/7 operation, for those big RTUs and everything else that they're using, a data center. And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, they say, oh, yeah, we had the wrong classification.
Yeah.
Boom, and they sent us a bill for $85,000. So deja vu all over again. When they took over the streetlights, apparently they created new streetlight invoices for us, but they never sent them. And so we had some credits and some other accounts. And they sent us a disconnect notice. That's how we found out that there was another set of bills out there. The good news is there's 890 lights, so if they want to disconnect them, they gotta go one by one. So it's not like pulling a meter. But so they're, they say we owe $100,000. And, my administrative assistant has calculated that at like 70,000 or 65 or something like that. So we're just trying to get all the puts and calls in to see what the actual number is. The money is in it's gonna wipe out the 2026 streetlight budget, so we're going to have to basically fund that account all over again and at a higher rate, because, we're gonna be at about 7,000 a month, which is about 100,000 a year, and I think maybe we put 120,000 this year, so.
All right.
But, yeah, the good news just keeps coming. So,
Keep our treasurer informed.
yeah, she knows about it. That's why she doesn't come to my meetings. Poor Heather.
Some more red pens.
Yeah. So, yeah, but hey. I lost 3 staff. Yeah. I didn't see people lining up out in the audience,
I want them up first.
yeah. We want more people, right? So, I guess.
Name to youth department.
Yeah. This is just one of those idiosyncrasies, because I know we all get spammed.
Yeah.
From Mr. Mann, about the, as happens many, many times in our code, there are inconsistencies. So in one section of the code, it says sidewalks are supposed to be 5 feet wide. And in another section of the code, it says sidewalks shall be 4 feet. So
Can we just, do a little resolution for that and get it?
that's you'd have to do a local law.
Yeah, we'll do a little local law.
I don't care one way or the other.
Well, we should fix that.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, we should probably know, I mean,
we'll
we're
just get one out.
not screw ourselves.
All right. Well, it should be 5, that the code for municipal, new sidewalks.
New sidewalks.
Yeah,
Don't
Whatever.
force us to fix anything.
Hey, I'm out of the sidewalk business, so I don't care. You gotta,
well, that could be one of the reasons why, Pocketbook Factory got snuck through their new sidewalks before.
well, that's coming.
Yeah,
Depends on
even
the,
though in the other spot it says 5.
it's different neighborhoods, you want something different on Warren Street.
Oh, Washington's all double,
Yeah.
double and triple.
Heavy traffic, sidewalks are safer, especially if you have. Food and, drink and music. Your
Yeah.
traffic,
Whatever. Good luck, guys.
thank you.
I'm out of the sidewalk business, so unless it's part of a municipal contract.
Something we can, earmark and send to legal to fix, just, that'll protect us in the future.
Outside of that, we got, a little, parks work there, just some cleanup, at Rogers Park and the Radio Park. Just that time of year. And, the last thing with the cemetery is, I'm not sure, it's not a big secret, but for those who don't kind of pay attention to these things. So obviously 2 different sections of the cemetery, but if you look at picture 35, you can see how dark and gray many of the stones are. That's how, in 36, that's how they all looked, the same. So there's like this little ragtag group of volunteers that have taken amongst themselves to just do
Cleaning.
cleaning. So they, anyway, just so, kind of, I'm meant to take one in the sun right now.
We have a great cemetery.
Well,
We do.
I
We're about,
say that our cemetery is one of the best attended parks
Yeah.
When when I walk my dogs, there's always,
Walking, yeah,
That's why there's a fence around the cemetery.
yeah. We're about to lose, one of those pine trees right in front, the one with the trail, the Indian trail.
Where's that?
Right at the front, right, the entrance to the park off of, well, I guess right across from, Bill's house. Former mayor,
Oh,
that entrance,
the
there's a
city cemetery,
city cemetery, yeah.
the Hudson City Cemetery.
Right, it's doing one of these from the last winter.
Yeah, we, every once in a while, we get a couple, we get a couple $1,000 that's left over and we bring somebody in year end,
Yeah.
a lot, and I mean, a couple of them, they've had to actually use a crane. Yeah, because you can't drop any stones, right?
Yeah,
You
we
know,
had one that fell on stones last year.
well, nature does what nature's gonna do,
yeah, fortunately, this one's nowhere near the
You know,
headstones.
we try not to do it ourselves. So, but that's my report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any quick, we're asking a lot of questions in between. We got a question now?
Yeah, Rob, I don't know if anybody has emailed you regarding 210 State Street. Supposedly it's a city-owned property
Yeah.
and
Kravitz's old property.
It's a what?
city-owned property and like apparently during the summertime, the weeds and branches and stuff get into the.
Yeah, that's
sidewalks.
a lot of,
If it's city-owned, it should be,
I don't know anything about it.
no,
It was, used to be owned by, Kravitz, painting.
Kravitz Enterprises.
Yeah, Kravitz, who went to,
I know all about it.
Yeah,
I remember 327.
yeah, so we
We had
took
the park
possession of that years ago and it slipped through the, under the radar for a long time.
Well, I can tell you this.
Yeah.
The BEA last year removed my parks department by 33%.
yeah.
I had 3. I only have 2. So be prepared to be disappointed at these little things that are not gonna be kept. We're gonna focus on riverfront parks, a lot of the big open spaces. And a lot of these little out parcels are gonna have to wait until we get to them.
I wonder if we're gonna sell that.
I mean, I hope so, just get rid of it.
Or just,
We can do it.
or, wait, DPW can mow the lawn, or we can sell the property.
I mean, we should talk about it and like,
That's all I'm saying. I mean, I can add it to, I have 35 different properties and parcels that.
Just sell it. Let's put a resolution for a special auction to sell it, we'll ask tenant. That can't be hard.
I don't know why we haven't sold it, this thing is,
Oh, because
210.
no one's taking action and that's what we're here to do.
Because I believe,
it's 210.
it was coded wrong
Yeah, voted on.
at an agency, not a city.
At least we, haven't been paying on it, so.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
thank you.
We can do that, we can send a resolution for that, for a special. There.
Okay, Logan, will you please pull up, Labella proposal? Okay, the Jennifer Belton and I, started a conversation with the Labella engineers, about a few intersections. The list is here on page 2. But the strategy has reduced it to begin with just 2. I'd like to talk about those 2 and the strategy to approach those 2 initially and why. And you can read the rest of the intersections as we go, at the measure. But back when, well, the Friends of the Public Square are working to rebuild the park. They looked at expanding I think it was called a phase 3, expanding the sidewalks. As you guys were just saying, most of the sidewalks on Warren Street are double width. So along the park is single width, 3 foot, I don't know if it's 3 foot wide, but
What's for?
4 foot wide. So it doesn't align with the sidewalk in front of, say, the Hudson Clothier's new little bag shop, what's it called?
On
The
On
corner,
South Seventh.
used to be house, yeah. South Seventh and one.
260, 624 Warren Street.
Yeah, so they don't align. So they want to expand those sidewalks around the park.
Hmm.
And
Sorry. Sorry, I should.
so, but in general, can we put the map of the park? You can see it if you look closely. Can you do a satellite view?
Yeah. Where is the
Usually to the right, upper right corner is usually where I see it on mine, unless it's lower right on yours, I think.
This side, yeah, right there.
This one?
No, next one, I think.
I think Lloyd's actually right.
Huh?
Where is it?
Other-
Your pop-up came up negative.
This one? No.
Okay, so, right along Warren there. If you zoom in right at Seventh and Warren,
Yeah, it doesn't align with.
it doesn't align. So you could actually, so that Warren Street is technically wider that, in that little block. So they want to expand it, and the same is true,
Expand the width on Warren,
they'll expand the width of the sidewalk
on Warren.
on Warren. And the width of the sidewalk on Seventh, and the same is also true on Columbia.
It's not a good idea.
Well,
The reason-
let's,
Oh,
They
sorry.
want to do it on Warren, not Seventh.
no, they want to do Warren, Seventh, and Columbia.
Okay.
But that's their project. But what that led to was making Seventh a one-way headed south. So Seventh is one-way headed south, north of Columbia.
Hmm.
So when I heard this, and I saw a company that drives red trucks, and I can't remember the name of it, using the light to turn left. So they're not following the truck route, but they're actually doing it,
Like a pickup truck or
no,
like a box truck? Like a
no, an
big-
18-wheeler.
Oh, okay.
So the intersection that has the conflicts is Park Place and Warren. With trucks turning right off of Warren onto Park Place, trucks turning left off of Park Place onto Warren. So if Seventh Street was one way,
Mhm.
we could reroute the truck route to there, and then the trucks headed towards Worth would have a light. And they would not be turning at the same corner as the trucks heading, say, towards Fairview.
Well, okay,
So, but that's not for
yeah.
us to specifically decide, but we've asked for a proposal. And that's what this one item is for Labella to look at whether Seventh as a one-way south and Park Place as a one-way north would be a feasible and good idea for traffic flow. And they were also going to study general safety around the park. So that is part of what is being proposed to be studied. A study of traffic flow around the park, including trucks.
Are they the ones that were doing the sidewalk bump outs on front and the 200 block of Warren?
No. So the other little project to be funded initially is the triangle at Columbia Street, Prospect Avenue, and Columbia Turnpike, also known as the hospital intersection,
Oh, the triangle.
the triangle. So, looking at volumes, traffic flows, solutions to make this a better intersection.
Hmm.
And the reason we've focused on those two projects is of this list, those two seem to be have the biggest impact on the whole city. And it keeps the project small enough to fit into, so the Hudson River Valley Greenway Grant is a 50-50 match. The application is due April 24th. we have $10,000 left in truck study money that was funded by Dee Dee Barrett. And we've talked to her office and they'd be fine with us using it in this manner. And so this grant would apply to conceptualize those two locations for better traffic flow, better safety.
Haven't we
And
studied that triangle already?
Yeah, there is a study before,
So,
there's a couple of studies. We have to dig it.
would you help me find it?
It's, yeah, City Clerk has it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know that most.
but I feel like every time we've talked about it in the last, like, my 2 terms, Tom would say like, oh, we've studied this.
Yeah.
There's really nothing you can do.
Well, we can, it's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, it's a
Yeah.
plan, but it's
So-
very expensive.
Along the lines of expensive.
Which is, I mean, I'm not saying that we should, I'm just saying like,
Yeah,
those should be referenced
Yeah,
to make sure we're not.
sure.
or at least we should maybe, decide on a plan, even if we can't afford it.
Yeah.
Just to know that maybe one day, maybe we'll get a grant or.
Well, so there's 2 other grants listed. One of them is in June and one is or July, and one is at the end of the year. So there's the Safe Streets for All grant and the Climate Smart Communities grants. So these grants, I've been told, would like to see the cities put some investment in. So this $20,000 investment, half from the city, half from the Greenway grant, would show us that we're invested in pursuing it. We use that to pursue the next grant. And the Climate Smart Communities grants can be quite large and could even be for construction.
Hmm.
So whether this can work or not, this is the strategy of approaching, of what we're trying to do. And so hope to get a vote before, on the informal meeting, to approve to go for the Hudson River Valley Greenway grant. For the $20,000 to
That's a good idea.
study that,
Yeah,
and then go from there.
So how much money you got left from the truck study, 10,000?
10,000, but the grant would match. It'd be a 50-50 match. So it'd be a $20,000 project. And then if we want to, and things are going well, we can pursue some of these other intersections, but I think one step at a time.
was very anxious about that one-way thing, but it's slowly growing on me.
I think for me, it was the focus of all the conflicts, and in fact, it was like, there was something floating around last week about a truck that stalled at that corner. I'd say headed south. And it just makes a big bottleneck, but, I think we have this pattern of one-way streets, including 8th Street. And so it fits into the pattern.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think most of the streets, except for maybe 3rd Street,
What's up?
should just be.
Yeah.
one way.
3rd is
Like,
tough.
2nd is just crazy right now.
Yeah, there's no reason.
2nd is crazy, it's parking on both sides, people have to basically.
Well, after they did the corners like that,
Yeah.
it got very difficult to do.
Yeah, but you're right, those could be one ways as well.
Baby steps.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it more, hopefully at the informal meeting,
Yeah.
but, it seems very doable to at least get this ball rolling.
Yeah, great.
Okay, switching to, the email from the mayor, or,
The
last
that
one.
one?
excuse me,
What was that for?
no right turn on
No,
red.
right, yeah.
So, Henry was at a meeting that we discussed,
Is that from the mayor?
I brought it up briefly at the safety committee as well.
yeah,
Like you suggested, and I asked the chief for, some feedback, what they thought, and, if there was anything. Obviously, we got the data from the mayor saying it increases pedestrian safety significantly in
Yeah,
municipalities that have it. So.
yeah,
and-
it is the law in New York City. I think I listened to your meeting and I discussed a few locations that we already have this.
Hmm.
What is your general feeling about basically no right turns on red anywhere else?
Huh?
I mean, if it
It's
increases,
actually on Third Street, all the way.
Yeah, there are definitely locations that are
Yeah,
bad.
that's-
We want to do it, even all the ones that I started thinking about it more driving around after we.
And I
Yeah,
think
brought it
all
up.
warrants should be,
yeah, I think there's definitely some area, I don't know if it's worth doing it in every single place.
not every single place, I think it's warrants.
Just because I think in some places, there's probably not enough foot traffic for it to make a big difference, but it would make a difference to flow of regular traffic.
It is,
You have a lot of right turns normally, it kind of probably.
it's a little simpler to outlaw
I see what you're saying.
completely.
Yeah,
But-
but you don't have to do a
Put a
study,
sign everywhere.
which ones you wanna do.
Probably have to.
You know, I have been out like walking at eight AM on a Sunday, and somebody's gonna stop at the light, there's no one around.
Yeah,
That's a little hard to envision.
I can tell you just right
Or-
off the bat. One place that it probably like helps the flow of traffic is Third and State.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody goes right there.
coming up,
So like, and plus because it's such a short block,
yeah,
there's so many cars. Putting a no turn right there might actually cause a back. But,
But there's
Yeah,
a
that's-
signal light actually set up like that, so,
you're saying like, is it gonna be sensor lights?
not sensor light, the light on that is,
Oh, you mean it's gonna be like, synced up to?
yeah.
The one thought that came to my mind, I'm not sure I love it or not, but because there's so much walking up and down Warren.
Yeah.
No right turns off of Warren,
That's why I suggest,
Warren, I think makes sense.
because,
and I think
pedestrian safety too, because
Yeah.
with a lot
I
of
mean,
tourists and stuff.
tourists don't even.
Yeah, they don't
they don't
even
stop.
They don't even stop.
well, that is why,
So,
I think the last year you guys put up. Wait for green lights.
yeah, but
2 years ago. Well, that's basically just the way to.
Best
protect
case,
the-
best case scenario.
drive
would
where
have
you get
walking
into.
routes on.
Yeah, right.
But put those out, buying pedestrian
Yeah.
walkway
Walkway,
lights
yeah,
are
we-
insanely expensive for us, so we're not gonna do that.
Yeah. Then the other thought I was like, no right turning onto Columbia Street.
It's probably just so much easier, like you said, a local law without arbitrarily choosing. Maybe in the short term, we could pick out a few to put some signs up, but if we want to do it, I think maybe this is not one where we would do it piecemeal and just do the whole thing.
Yeah,
I mean, in the interim, if it's an issue that has to be discussed, I think the police commission
Yeah.
has the right to change traffic.
well, I think
Yeah. but
Joe
none of it-
considered that.
Hmm.
And I think he just wanted to
Blanket.
get us, well, I wanted to get us to get in on it.
Yeah.
Wanted our opinions, wanted,
Good idea.
it's hard to be against. I guess where I don't think it got asked, but do we enforce rolling stops?
Oh, I don't think I asked that one. I think it's hard, but we do when they're, I know we do. Cause I've been pulled over by a bicycle cop doing it a few years ago.
Well, I think
So-
those are,
Yeah, I've definitely been.
When they-
told about it.
stop, we have the.
Instead I didn't stop all the way, I was like.
Yeah.
okay.
I think rolling stops are as dangerous.
Absolutely, yeah. I did not bring it up, sorry.
And then there's also just the politeness of people, crossing at crosswalks and not stopping.
Mhm.
It is a state law. I know they put a sign up down at the train station. I don't know who did that, if Ben Train did it, but, or the train, or Amtrak did it, but
Well, I hope we did it, cause otherwise it's illegal.
yeah, I don't know. It surprised me.
Oh, well.
They put
It's right in the middle of the road.
I think Amtrak has been putting that out. It says it's a pedestrian, like a yellow plastic thing with a big rubber bottom.
It looked permanent, but
How long,
I think it's Rob.
I don't know, oddly enough, I noticed actual like flashing light on, by Kiwanis Park. Is that new or have I just not noticed?
Where?
You know where the, Columbia meets with
Oh.
Kiwanis Park is? Did that get put up recently?
No, I think that it's by the pedestrian crossing, right?
Yeah, there's like, you can press it to.
Yeah, that's
turn on
what
the
it
lights.
is, but illuminate.
I just must have never.
Illuminate.
Yeah, today I almost, almost ran it. It started flashing, though.
There is some, in front of unions too, they have one. and-
I'm surprised they put that there.
Couple
instead
of
of putting
places,
it.
we already.
I think they had one extra and when Dominic got the money to
Yeah,
do
we-
it, and there was one extra that didn't
I
have
think the
location.
perfect place would have been where the hospital employees always cross.
Yeah,
That would have
right
been
in the
a
middle
much
of
more
Columbia.
useful place than that. But
Maybe they'll pay for one for them.
they should just pay for it. I don't
Well,
understand why they,
that's what they
but they don't really pay their employees.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's why we let them build that parking garage for their employees. And then they started charging employees.
yeah, they're like,
So I don't know what we
Employees
do.
The only people that get charged then? Cause.
Well, this is that, yeah.
Getting around.
Maybe.
What do we do relative to this idea of no right turns on red?
I'm for it. I don't see.
Do we just give this feedback to the mayor or? do we-
Yeah, I say, well, if we're for it, let's bring it up at the meeting and then I guess we could send it.
All
I
right.
mean, if we're doing a
To
local
a
law,
resolution illegal and then back to us or
Okay.
back to the committee.
yeah, that's what I mean, like, that should just go to the.
Yeah.
Legal committee. You could just refer to.
We could write it up ourselves and save Margaret the hassle, because Joe's done so much work, we're basically just copying and pasting another municipality's local law, we'll just give it to our legal, and then we can bring it to the council for you.
Okay,
Save Margaret the debate. Can end up there anyhow, but maybe we just draft something and do as much work as we can.
Okay.
Who is our council? It's,
Ken does.
Ken.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
and,
Any new business?
No. You got one,
Yeah. Okay, wanna?
Yeah.
Questions online?
All right, Bill.
You hear me?
Bill Houston, you wanna speak? Ask me a question?
You hear me?
Seems unmuted.
He's on.
Yeah, he's nice,
We can't hear you, Bill. I don't know if you're talking or not.
Okay.
You might be better off typing it if it's not working.
Can you hear me?
No, that's all right.
Can you hear me?
Okay, doesn't seem like, and no one else online?
Ron,
Hello?
Ron, would you like to speak?
Oh, then he lowered his hand. Oh, allow his mic.
Sorry.
Ron,
Hello?
if you'd like to go ahead, you're welcome.
Yeah, I can hear Mr. Houston. That's what I want to say.
Hello?
maybe it's.
I hear him,
something
I guess
else
you
that's still
don't.
not getting me.
Hello?
Margaret, you can hear us fine.
Bill here?
Margaret, can you try to speak?
yeah, she's fine.
I don't know.
Hello?
I could just test it out.
Hello?
Give it another minute, see if we can sort this out, if there is anything.
In the meantime, you guys could, if you have a question, you can just type it in.
Yeah, text.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, that enable your mic too.
It's echo.
There's nothing coming out this way. I think
Hello?
Speakers hanging out.
I hear Bill mine.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you know, maybe the speakers could, I have it,
Well, okay,
If anyone wants to type in their question really quick.
Hello, can you hear me?
There's a text from Bill.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
We cannot hear you in the room.
We're having audio issues, we can't hear you.
you.
Maybe something did.
That's
That's not. Nice.
All right, I'm sorry, folks. We seem to be having
There's a mute
technical
button on that
difficulties.
side.
That's for the microphone.
Then I shall not touch a thing.
No,
Um,
you pushed it over here.
We'll have to get email questions.
I did. Thank you.
This
I
time.
crushed it.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Motion and second.
Second.
All right, thank you, sorry, public, please email us your questions.